The absolute chilling truth behind the 2013 kidnapping and brutal slaying of 8-year-old Cherish Periwinkle continues to haunt us today. Please be advised, everyone watching. The following events are completely and entirely real. Certain upcoming scenes feature highly distressing themes for sensitive audiences. Our production never seeks to glorify brutal tragedies. Complete discretion is heavily advised. Jacksonville 911. Robinson answering. Hello, trainee here. Snatched by some stranger, nobody can locate her. On June 21st, 2013, a sweltering dusk quietly blanketed Jacksonville, Florida. Humidity hung heavy while the traffic vanished completely. For the majority, it represented just another perfectly mundane Friday dusk. Nothing ever felt wrong during those dark hours. No blaring sirens, zero screaming, absolutely zero clues pointing toward an impending catastrophe. Raising kids alone absolutely drained Rain. She constantly scraped by juggling immense duties against relentless fatigue for basic survival. Material wealth eluded her completely, yet possessing her precious little girls meant possessing the entire universe. Later that twilight, the matriarch brought her 3 youngsters shopping. They skipped frivolous wants, focusing strictly upon absolute survival necessities. Properly sized garments and extremely affordable goods remained vital whenever cash ran low. Her eldest child went by the name Cherish Periwinkle. 8 years old, petite, and exceptionally gentle, she placed immense blind trust into older adults. This incredibly obedient little girl always clung tightly to her mom, fully convinced that all elders only offered protection. Suddenly, an unknown male walked right up to their group. His identity proved to be Donald Smith. He resembled a standard, polite older man. No red flags appeared. He quickly sparked a highly pleasant, totally unalarming, casual conversation with the young mother. The stranger claimed his spouse possessed a prepaid shopping voucher, strongly desiring to sponsor some fresh apparel for the kids. Supposedly, she waited at a local Walmart. The offer felt surprisingly benevolent, yet perfectly plausible. Doubt crept in, but immense exhaustion clouded her judgment. Right then, the proposition resembled pure grace, rather than a lethal hidden trap. Acceptance won out. They trailed him toward a nearby supercenter, an enormous establishment bustling with enough shoppers to make everything feel completely secure. Surveillance cameras silently documented the ensuing tragedy. These precise recordings eventually aired on an endless loop. Moment after agonizing moment, inside that supercenter, the innocent child strolled directly beside the absolute monster. Her tiny silhouette contrasted sharply against his imposing build, showcasing an innocent kid placing blind faith into an absolute fiend. The mother kept browsing with her remaining children, rushing to finish utterly convinced her eldest remained totally secure, just a few steps away. This deceiver promised to treat the hungry girl to fast food at the in-store restaurant, allowing her mother uninterrupted time to finalize her purchases. The plan seemed completely logical, utterly benign. Several agonizing moments vanished. Paying concluded. Her eyes darted toward the food court. Zero sign of her daughter. She frantically scoured. Desperate inquiries yielded nothing. 60 agonizing minutes evaporated. Once 11 struck, sheer terror totally consumed Rain as she rapidly phoned emergency services, violently trembling. This disgusting creep tried getting my baby girl adult-sized heels, but I immediately shut it down. Those specific pumps stood way too tall, honestly, exceeding anything I would ever personally put on. He was probably softening her up for terrible things. Lord, do not let him end her life. I pray she survives unharmed. She frantically informed the operator about her stolen child, confirming an unknown guy snatched the kid into absolute peril. Camera recordings ultimately unveiled the exact second all hope died. There went the predator strolling outside. Right by his side, the silent victim trailed obediently. Both vanished into a pale transport vehicle, marking the final confirmed sighting of the living youngster. While darkness lingered, police forces deployed. Detectives scrutinized tapes, rapidly questioning key local bystanders. Crucial chronological events slowly pieced together. Come sunrise. Absolute desperation hit Hardin, triggering a massive child abduction broadcast statewide across Florida. Screens flashed her identity and physical traits everywhere. Families gripped their offspring fiercely, watching televisions desperately begging for miracles. Authorities hunted down that pale truck behind a local chapel. Snoozing deeply inside the driver's seat sat the kidnapper. Apprehension happened incredibly smoothly without any physical fight, yet the little girl remained missing. Sweeps commenced throughout the neighboring landscape, aggressively scouring thick forests and isolated thickets unhoodable for any human youth. Then came the gruesome unearthing. Her lifeless remains turned up nearby. Upcoming forensic findings proved so deeply sickening that seasoned investigators literally choked on their own words while discussing it. Following the kidnapping, absolute horror blanketed the awakening city. Devastating news spread insanely fast. Someone literally snatched an 8-year-old out of a supercenter under her parents' nose. The culprit had been wandering openly among normal citizens beforehand. Investigators tirelessly grinded through the darkness, analyzing store tapes relentlessly. They inspected each corner, dark spot, and stationary gesture constantly. Visuals remained hauntingly crisp, unbearably vivid. The predator breaching the entrance, the suspect strolling next to the minor, the monster exiting alongside his prey. Identifying the perpetrator required zero guesswork. The massive lingering mystery involved the subsequent timeline of horrors. During the interrogation room sessions, the suspect displayed absolutely spine-chilling tranquility. His words flowed sluggishly, highly calculated, carefully separating fact from hidden atrocities. Initially, he entirely rejected any allegations of inflicting damage. The fiend swore she remained secure, insisting he released her elsewhere, and blaming a colossal miscommunication. Unsurprisingly, forensic clues thoroughly demolished those ridiculous fabrications completely. Telecommunication logs pinpointed him near the Woodland dump site. Digital ping histories aggressively mapped out his driving route second for second. Locals recalled spotting his pale truck idling beside the timberline way past midnight. The suspect vanished, leaving frantic deputies hunting for discarded clues. Following a horrifying radio dispatch, a child was snatched right from the store. Physical clues soon painted a grim picture, revealing a brutal reality that delicate phrasing could never cushion. Autopsy results proved so profoundly gruesome that authorities chose to conceal the absolute worst specifics from the press. Seasoned detectives would eventually recall this murder as the absolute most barbaric case of their entire careers. The little girl experienced incomprehensible agony facing that absolute terror without anyone there. As detectives dug deeper, their focus completely shifted to the monster behind the act, his dark background, his origins, and exactly why this predator was roaming free. He possessed a massive rap sheet filled with vicious, worsening offenses. His past convictions included armed theft, predatory abuse, and brutal attacks, keeping him rotating through the penal system for literally decades. Even with glaring red flags and psychiatric evaluations classifying him as a severe threat, the system let him walk. A mere 3 weeks before the fatal abduction, 21 days of unchecked liberty to hunt authorities determined he intentionally preyed upon her struggling mother. Stalking her every move, the killer recognized her desperation and lack of funds, turning her inherent goodness into a deadly calculated trap. Surveillance tape from a nearby discount store caught him creeping, observing and selecting his victim in a purely predatory, meticulously planned hunt. While constructing their arguments, the state attorney centered on a single, indisputable fact: the young victim never willingly walked away. She was violently stolen, leading to a mounting pile of indictments including abduction and homicide, which left the city outraged. Locals questioned how such a monster walked the streets, while the devastated mother drowned beneath a crushing ocean of self-blame. Torturing herself endlessly, she mentally looped through that fatal evening, agonizing over every choice and her tragic mistake of trusting a stranger. Years later, she confessed she never fathomed a true monster wearing such a normal disguise. Heading into trial, attorneys gathered proof so horrifying it was guaranteed to shock the gallery into absolute stillness. Tapes, sound bites, and statistics laid out pure malice, giving the defense zero leverage against an airtight sequence of events and a flawless evidence chain. The cold, hard truth proved the defendant abducted and slaughtered the innocent child, though legal retribution would naturally require years. Multiple seasons faded before a panel was finally seated, forcing the entire nation to once again stare directly into the face of unimaginable barbaric darkness. Peers weighed the evidence, understanding their heavy duty, recognizing this trial extended far beyond a simple conviction. This demanded ultimate retribution. By 2018, the monster was convicted of every single charge. Guilty of premeditated homicide, abduction, and assault, the monumental judgment sent massive shockwaves nationwide. A suffocating silence blanketed the chamber as the judge declared capital punishment a lethal penalty many considered righteous. Others just felt relief that a horrific chapter had closed, while a completely shattered mother absorbed the ruling that condemned the man who took her world. She eventually vocalized deep remorse, the dangers of misplaced faith, and how one split-second mistake sparked widespread public fury. Furious citizens interrogated broken probation boards and flawed threat evaluations, wondering exactly how many red flags a criminal needed before permanent incarceration. The little girl transformed from a tragic casualty into a powerful emblem of childhood innocence, highlighting the catastrophic price of institutional incompetence. This tragedy overhauled legal protocols and completely shifted community dialogue, terrifying guardians everywhere, yet no amount of legislation could ever resurrect that precious life. Being only 8 years of age, she adored her relatives and inherently believed grown-ups were good. She deserved absolute protection. Her brutal demise wasn't an unlucky accident, but the direct result of a predator roaming unchecked, proving everyday life can shatter into a terrifying horror story in seconds. It showcased how fleeting choices hold permanent devastation and how the tiniest souls forge eternal legacies. This 8-year-old angel's memory remains entirely immortal. If this heart-wrenching narrative deeply touched you, hit that like button, share, and subscribe not for views, but to ensure these innocent victims are eternally honored. This heartbreaking case reminds us of a truth society can never afford to forget. Evil does not always arrive looking dangerous. Sometimes it speaks gently, offers help, and hides behind a smile. That is why awareness, caution, and protection must never be treated as optional. The story teaches us that children are deeply innocent, and innocence must be guarded by adults, families, schools, and communities together. Parents under stress deserve support, not judgment. A tired mind can miss danger, and that is exactly why communities should create stronger safety nets for vulnerable families. At the same time, children must be taught again and again one life-saving lesson: never leave with a stranger, no matter how kind, polite, or convincing that person may seem. This tragedy also exposes a larger responsibility. When violent offenders are ignored, overlooked, or released without proper safeguards, the public pays the price. Justice is not only about punishment after harm, it is about prevention before harm happens. Let this painful story become more than sorrow. Let it become a call to protect the innocent, to support struggling parents, to strengthen the system, and to choose vigilance over assumption. One careful decision can save a child's life.